Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Good evening. My name is Paul, and I'm a full-blown alcoholic. And I am delighted to be here tonight. Alcoholics always say that. They're glad to be any place. But I am particularly glad. I always enjoy coming to this meeting. I enjoy this group, enjoy being here, and I enjoy a meeting where there are too many alcoholics for the size of the meeting, where you have to jam them in. The alcoholics jammed close together like that generate a great deal of energy, a great deal of love, and I like that. I feel bad about the people that have to stand, but then a little voice says, "What the hell? You've got to stand." I was sitting there making conversation with Holly, and she said, are you nervous? And people ask me that. Are you still get nervous when you going to talk to a big group? And I said, well, I don't like to call it nervousness. I'd rather call it anticipatory anxiety. And besides, it's not really my problem. Before I'm going to talk, or before I'm going to do anything of any anxiety to it, or anything I'm going to do I'm a little concerned about, I recite the third step prayer, which says, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will, and so on. And I modify that depending on the situation. And like if I'm going to talk, I say, God, I offer myself to thee. I offer myself and this situation to you to do with as you wish. Now, I would like it to turn out to be phenomenally successful. But if you have it in your mind that this is the night for me to make a complete ass of myself, well, at least one of us will have a good time. This might be the night. I remember the very first time I said the third step prayer and really said it meaningfully. I remember saying to God, you take this day and you do with it whatever you want. You make happen whatever you want to have happen. You have come into my life whoever you want to have come into my life. You have them say whatever you want them to say and do whatever you want them to do. And whatever happens today, and whoever comes into my life, whenever they say and do, I'll know that's your will for me today. And you know, the first time I did that, I was scared to death. I just wondered how he was going to handle all the power I just gave him. You know, but you know, two things. He's never abused it. He's never taken advantage of the power I gave him. And any day that I do that, nothing has ever happened that seems to happen by mistake. It seems to be the way it's supposed to be, and that's good. So anyway, as I said, I'm glad to be here. I want to welcome, congratulations to the Chip people, and happy birthday to the birthday people, and welcome to the visitors. And I didn't hear anything about signing court cards. You don't do, get well nudge from the judge. We don't. You're going to do. Oh, you have them? How many do you have? Four. I was at a meeting in Riverside one night, and it must have been close to a courthouse or something. And at that meeting, when you're going to talk, you sit up at the front table with the secretary and the treasurer and the important people. And not having anything else to do, there was a basket there and it had the court cards in it, and so I counted them. And there were 21 court cards. And I thought, 20, that's a lot. Yeah. And only one newcomer. So ever since then, I like to welcome the non-alcoholic drunk drivers. We're really glad you're here. And I personally hope you stay here till I get home. And of course, I want to welcome the newcomers. Bill W., one of the two founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, said that carrying the message of recovery was our primary aim and the chief reason for our existence. Our primary aim and the chief reason for our existence. And I thought, when he said our existence, does he mean us as individuals or us as groups or both? But carrying the message of recovery is a big, big deal. Nothing more important we can do. So, and that's what we do at meetings. We do it, carry the message in thousands of ways. One of them is staying sober out there in a drinking society, but we do it at meetings and we carry the message to each other. And it's more fun to carry it to the, it's a lot of fun to carry it to the newcomers, because it's interesting to see what happens to newcomers when they get hold of this thing. I've always said that I'd keep coming back to AA even if it wasn't keeping me sober, to watch the newcomers. And it's fun to do that. So we're really, you newcomers, we're really glad you're here. We're really glad you're here. In fact, we're so glad you're here, we don't care that you're not glad you're here. In fact, you're not supposed to be glad you're here. In fact, if you're happy to be here, we may not be able to help you. But if you feel miserable and ashamed and you think of 1,000 other places you'd rather be, and particularly if you think your case is different, sad news, that makes you one of us. So you might as well just keep coming back. In fact, they might as well enjoy it, because that's one of the nice things about AA. They don't charge you any extra if you enjoy it. And besides, speaking of enjoying, you can quit drinking or you can keep on drinking if you want to, but you'll never enjoy it again. This really ruins your drinking. So anyhow, maybe I should talk about drinking. I did used to drink. And I want to welcome the Al-Anon too. I heard this. I can feel the vibrations. I know this. No, you shouldn't laugh at the Al-Anon. They're very sensitive. In fact, I'm joking because I only joke about things that I love. But I go to Al-Anon every Monday noon. Have for 5-10 years now, and I love Al-Anon. I think it's great stuff. And one of the most common problems people come to me with, the people that I sponsor, are somebody that's in a relationship, an alcoholic who's in a relationship with another alcoholic, and they're going nuts. And after I listen to the whole sad story, I say, well, what you are telling me is a 110% Al-Anon problem. Why have you considered going to Al-Anon? You know what they do? How they feel? They're insulted. They're insulted. Here we are at the bottom of the social barrel. And in all humility, we're insulted if somebody says you go to... we're the only people in the world who think you're more of a person if you're an alcoholic than if you're not. But we're very humble. Anyhow, I better get out of that. I want to be invited back someday. I used to drink, but I, like Mike, I think it was, I wasn't one of those dumb alcoholics. You have to drink. I was a doctor. You can't be a doctor and not drink. Just ha-ha yourself. Just say anybody knows you can't be a plumber and not drink. You can't be a construction worker and not drink. And a lot of those jobs you have to drink. In fact, that was one of the earliest things I picked up in AA, even before I got to be an alcoholic. I met a gal who was sober in AA, and she was a cocktail waitress. And I saw a guy who was a clerk in a liquor store and was staying sober in AA. In fact, I met two brothers who owned a chain of liquor stores, and they were staying sober in AA. I met a beer truck driver who was staying sober in AA. And I thought, geez, something about this program. You can be almost anything and stay sober in this program. But anyway, I wasn't an alcoholic back that time. I drank, and I wasn't alcoholic, but I had a lot of morning sickness. I would really be sick, but I found out why that was. At least because I drank on an empty stomach. You should never drink on an empty stomach. Everybody knows that. But then I got sick, and I hadn't drunk on an empty stomach. But I found out that was because I had mixed my booze. You should never mix your booze. But then I got sick, had morning sickness, and I had mixed my booze. I hadn't drunk on an empty stomach. But that was because I had gotten some bad booze. There's a lot of bad booze out there. I really appreciate the AA research workers who test it periodically. And I understand they're not making it any better than they ever did. In fact, I remember one time in particular that we'd gone out drinking the night before at up near Disneyland Hotel at the Royal Hawaiian. And they had a big circular place, and a big circular bar, big circular bar. And of course, in a Royal Hawaiian, you drink rum. Oh God, I was sick the next morning. And they got rotten rum up there. It's just awful that they would serve such rotten rum. And then I pictured all those people sitting at that bar, and I knew just from seeing them that one night that you could tell that they were there every night. And why don't they get sick? I mean, how come they can sit there and drink that night after night? My keen alcoholic brain says that's because they're the alcoholics. They were alcoholics, but I wasn't. I drank good liquor, and so I wasn't an alcoholic. But I took a few pills too, but yes, one pill led to another. But he's probably an addict, and I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I never ever took a pill unless I had the precise symptom. The precise symptom that only that pill would relieve. I either had it or I could feel it coming on. And, every pill I ever took was medically indicated at the time, and taken according to directions and prescribed by a physician, me. In fact, I had a medical practice, and I had a big practice. I had my own version of the Hippocratic Oath, in that I never ever gave a patient a pill that I hadn't first tried out on myself. I shouldn't get on the pills. This is the Alcoholics Anonymous who talked about alcohol, but I do want to mention that the reason I'm not addicted, I didn't get addicted, I'm not an addict, is because I never abused the pills. Any doctor will tell you the way you get hooked on pills is you have to abuse them. I never abused a pill in my life. I mean, they were just little tiny pills. I mean, just to look at them, you could tell they were very weak. And I never abused them. I was even very careful where I carried my pills. I used to keep them over with my change. And people say, you got change for $1? And I say, oh yeah. And I go like that. And they go, oh, you carry your Seconal and Tuinal around underneath you. So I put it over with my keys. And I'd go out in the parking lot and take the keys out of my pocket. And a Quaalude would run down the street.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
And damn thing would always run faster than I could run, you know. And I couldn't stop on it, or I'd abuse it. Enough about pills, but I do want to mention just an honorable mention. I don't want to recommend them. I just want an honorable mention to amphetamines. I don't think I would have had the stamina to have completed my pre-AA training period if it hadn't been for amphetamines. That's the hardest work I ever did out there. I was saying this here tonight that how great it is to be here. I have no idea why I fought as hard as I did trying to stay out there. And I thought I was having a lot of fun. And it was just the opposite. I was trying to figure out ways to kill myself painlessly and absolutely for sure and have it look heroic. And it's hard to get that all together. I never quite succeeded. But being depressed is one of my favorite moods. I love being depressed. Depression has a lot of redeeming social value. I think about depression for me is that it takes all those problems, the whole world of problems, and narrows them all down to just one thing, just me. Poor me. I have a little trouble distinguishing between depression and self-pity. And I think, and this has nothing to do now with AA. Newcomers, don't pay attention. But I have found that for me, the thing that helps me with my program, with my depression, I mean, is two things. One is I treat depression as a defect of character with a 6th and 7th step. But the non-program thing is exercise. I use exercise. I have a treadmill, and that brings up my favorite bragging story. That is that I am, as far as I know, the only 80-year-old I know who has worn out his treadmill before it wore him out. But 4.5 years ago, I bought a treadmill, and I don't believe much in service contracts, but I thought with a treadmill, a lot of moving parts, I think I'll get a service contract. I wore out the tread, and they replaced it. I wore out the main bearing, they replaced it. Wore out some other parts, they replaced that. The company that made the treadmill went out of business. But that didn't put the service contract out of business. So they said, well, you go back to Montgomery Ward, you pick out the best treadmill you can find, let us know which one it is, we'll go pick it up and deliver it to you, and we'll pick up the old one and take it away. I'm now in the process of trying to wear out my second treadmill. You're not nearly as impressed as I am. 40 minutes every day. 40 minutes every day. That's my personal Prozac. Anyhow, I have a slight delay here the committee in my head is having a meeting. They're arguing about what I should talk about next. And one will say something, the other will say, no, don't talk about that, talk about this. And another will say, don't talk about that, talk about this. And they get to fighting among themselves, and it's very confusing. And they go, shut up there. And they all shut up, and I can't think of anything to say. So, my whole life is based not on what they say as much as who I listen to of what they say. I mean, there's all kinds of choices. I got the pro and con of every conceivable topic there. I also have a slight sore throat and cough, so I'm going to have a cough drop while they're making up their mind. My life is controlled by who I listen to up there. I mean, my life, the days and my nights. A lot of times I get home at the middle of the evening. My body's tired and wants to lie down and go to sleep. And my brain will say, "No, let's lie here and talk about it for a while." You know. They talk. That's what they do up there. They talk. They talk. They don't do any work. They just talk. And they talk. If I drink caffeine, they talk. You know. And if I finally do get to sleep at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll wake me up and say, "Hey, wake up. We've had an emergency meeting. We need to talk to you. You know that thing you thought went so well today? It wasn't like that at all." Wait till morning, you'll find out, you know. I don't want to listen to that nonsense, and I'll roll over and go back to sleep. And just as I'm about to lose consciousness, I'll think to myself, boy, I'm glad I'm not thinking about that anymore. And one will say, oh, I'm glad you're still awake. You know, you did the same thing about 6 months ago. And we decided you're one of the dumbest people we've ever met. Let's spend the rest of the night lying here making lists of stupid things you have done. Talk. But I've gotten a lot more comfortable with them in the program than I was before. And I know who to listen to, and I know when the idea of coming up and having a drink comes up. I know it's just there's one person up there that wants to see me drink. All the rest want to see me sober. And when I get these goofy drinking ideas, I know it's him talking. And in fact, I hear all kinds of stuff that isn't practical. I mean, God, I'm glad you can't hear what I have to listen to. A lot of the suggestions a lot of them are illegal, and an awful lot of them are lewd. It's just awful. You may not like what you have to hear, but it's better than what I'm listening to. Anyhow, I ended up in the nut ward. That's what I did. I guess that's other people have said, oh, I have those voices too, but I was afraid to tell anybody. I ended up in the nut ward of the Mayo Clinic because I'd been having convulsions, and was seeing the most prominent neurologist in Orange County, and he was treating me with Dilantin and phenobarbital for epilepsy. He didn't know why I had convulsions, and he didn't think to ask me if I drank, and I didn't think to tell him. And I signed out of the Mayo Clinic, ended up back in Orange County, and when it was ended up in the nut ward of the hospital on the staff of, was sitting there. They wanted me to make leather belts. I didn't know how to make leather belts, didn't want to know how to make leather belts, wasn't interested in their damn leather belts. And I was sitting there pouting and thinking, what's a nice guy like me doing in a place like this? And this dumb psychiatrist, who couldn't see that my problems were strictly marital, walked up and asked me if I'd be willing to talk to a man from Alcoholics Anonymous. I thought, God almighty, don't I have enough problems of my own without trying to help some drunk from AA? But I could tell I could tell by the look on his face that he thought it was a good idea. I don't know if they're not, but happiness on a nut wart is happy psychiatry. And to make him happy, I said yes. And in no time at all, this clown comes galloping into the room, yelling at the top of his voice, "My name is Frank, and I'm an alcoholic." Ha 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 ha. I was embarrassed for him. Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you. Wow, I got a choice too. That's tea? Huh? What, is that herb tea? Oh my goodness. Oh my God, I swallowed the tablet. Okay. All right, thank you anyway. Oh God. This is ridiculous. Anyway. Anyway, he told this long story, and he finally ended up saying, "Well, that's my story. I'm going to a meeting tonight. Do you want to go along?" And I said, "Hell no." "Hell no, I don't like it. I won't want to, but I'll go," because I knew he'd go back and tell that dumb psychiatrist. Then we went off to a meeting, and I have no idea what meeting we went to. I don't know how many meetings we went to before I knew what meeting I was at. But I know that meeting had a profound effect on the psychiatrist. He was, now he wanted to know, what's this about a book? What's this about meetings? How often do they have meetings? What kind of other meetings do they have? When's the next time you're going to a meeting? And I thought, my God, I've got me an alcoholic psychiatrist. He's sending me, and because he's ashamed to go, so he's sending me. I wondered how long it would take for me to get him sober. So I asked Frank to take me every night. Frank took me every night, got to a lot of meetings. I finally got enough brownie points that I was discharged from the hospital and I was ready to go home. I had no reason to come back, because why would I come back? I wasn't an alcoholic. The problem was that Max, who was not an alcoholic, liked the meetings. I'd say, "Let's go to a movie." She said, "No, let's go to an AA meeting." She thought they were funny. And and once I found out she liked the meetings and she wouldn't shape up, I decided I wasn't going to AA anymore. And I just said that once too often, and she did what she couldn't do. She got in the car and went to the meeting by herself. We lived in Anaheim, went to meetings in Laguna Beach so we wouldn't run into anybody we knew. She couldn't drive the freeway, couldn't drive to Laguna Beach, but she did it anyhow because she said she felt better when she went to the meetings than when she didn't, and she went to the meeting by herself. Have you ever tried that? Sitting at home on a Saturday night drinking while your non-alcoholic partner is off laughing it up at an AA meeting? I thought it was very rude. And, so I had to go back to the meetings to find out what the alcoholics were laughing about. And it was very confusing. It seemed to me that they laughed at things they ought to be ashamed of. And they cried at things they ought to be laughing at. And I went to meetings for 7 months. And went to 7 meetings for 7 months, and then went to one meeting too many. And I found myself laughing with them. And I haven't had a drink since. And that was the night I turned into a very, very mild alcoholic. Almost non-alcoholic. But that was enough to get me started. They talked about stick with the winners. I didn't know what a winner was. I asked Chuck C. At that time, he was sober about 110 years. I thought he would tell me right off what a winner was. Instead, he had to think, and then he said, "Well, I guess you have to die sober." Die sober. I've never been at all interested in any accolades I could win by dying. So I decided, well, if I'm going to be a winner, I'll be a successful member of AA. In fact, the thing was that here, I was in AA, and I was ashamed to be here, as I say. It was, because as far as I was concerned, it was the bottom of the social barrel. And here's these people with this really stupid goal in life. I remember a big, healthy, husky, young buck. A guy stood at the AA podium, and he says, if I don't drink today, I'm a success today. And I thought, oh, for God's sake, big damn deal. You're not going to have a beer today, you know. Of course, I was still drinking at the time, of course. And I was ashamed to be here. I didn't want people out there to know I was here. I didn't want you to know I was here. I was ashamed of the whole thing. And it finally got through to me that if that's such a crummy little nothing goal, and I don't achieve that simple little crummy nothing sort of goal, I'm never going to achieve any goal. If that's the minimum for me in life, I better get on the ball here. And I decided that because it seemed to me that what I saw was that the world is divided. The world's divided into people who drink and people who don't drink, and the people who drink are divided into social drinkers and alcoholics. And 9 out of 10 people react to alcohol one way, and they're called social drinkers. 1 out of 10 react to it very differently, and they're alcoholics. And the alcoholics are divided into 2 groups: those who are drinking and those who are sober. And it seemed to me the ones who are sober are the ones that are having all the fun. And in fact, they seem to be having more fun than the people out there who were drinking or weren't drinking or whatever. I liked what I saw here. I liked the laughter. I liked the fun. And I thought, I'm going to be a successful member of AA. And over the years, I didn't make that commitment to anybody but myself. And over the years, I've changed my definition somewhat of what's a successful member of AA. But essentially, I don't know any successful members who drink or take drugs, you know. And that's the and to this day, I do that. If I have a decision to make as to what course of action to take, I ask myself, what would a successful member of AA do? What would an AA winner do? What would God want me to do? What's the loving thing to do? All of which are basically the same question. And I feel further, if I do a thing for the right motive and leave the results up to God, it turns out exactly the way it's supposed to. And that's so much simpler than the way it used to be, where I would try to figure out, if I do this, will you do this? Or would you do that? Or should I do this and see if you can do that? And that gets into a manipulation. I remember early in sobriety, it was at an Al-Anon meeting, as a matter of fact, I heard a woman say that the more you try to control another person, the more you're under that person's control. If how you feel or what you do next depends on whether they do or don't do whatever it is you're trying to get them to do or not do, then you're under their control. If you followed all that, you're alcoholic. I decided that it's so simple. All I have to do is, what's my motive? And if my motive is love, and it turns out however it's supposed to be. I don't have to worry about it. It may not be what I would have chosen, but it's turned out. That's how I find out what God's will is for me. I mean, how I find out what God's will is. God's will is whatever is. My will is whatever I wish it were. And very simple. And I can't predict God's will, but I can pick my motive, do something, see how it turns out, then that's God's will. And I find that very helpful to me. I love live by the steps. I don't love doing them all the time, but I do enjoy having them. The 6th and 7th step, like fear, insomnia, and depression, that I take one at a time, turn it over to God, and the 6th and 7th step, I'll say, I'd like you to remove all of this, but I know you have that loophole that says it might be useful to you or to my fellows. So I will give it to you. I'd like you to take all of it, but I know you may not. But I'd like for you to take it and sleep on it overnight. And in the morning, you give me the amount of it you want me to have. And I will accept that from you as a gift from you. And move on. And I've never done that he hasn't removed a whole lot of it. But I've never done it that he's totally and permanently removed any defect. And I've really put a lot of effort in the 3rd step. 3rd step is just a decision the first time around. You say to somebody, "What step you're working on?" They say, "What step are you doing?" They'll say, "I'm working on the third." Well, there's no place in my book that says there's any work in the third step. It says it's a decision. You decide, yeah, I have to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. That seems like a good idea. I'll do that. And the way you do that is then you do your fourth step immediately and at once, my book says. But I don't understand people who say they're working on it. But now that I've done all the steps through, and I redo all the steps I have, because of a pamphlet I work on and put out on how to study the first 164 pages of the books and how to do the steps when you come to them. I've printed 32,000 of those pamphlets. And because of the work I do with those pamphlets, I have redone all the steps about every 5 years for about 5 years now. And every time I've done that, I've moved to a new plateau in sobriety. And now the steps all are more of a circle than a step thing. And so the third and 11th step kind of work together for me now. And but I took the third step very seriously over the years. When the first time I did the third step, on my knees in front of my sponsor, I recited the third step and the third step prayer. And I thought, because to me that's a contract. And I thought, well, I'd like a contract that would not be so easy for either God or I to weasel out of. So I thought, well, maybe I had more witnesses. So I went before my then 3 home groups, and I recited the third step and the third step prayer, on the theory that if either one of us tried to get out of the contract, we'd have to get all those witnesses together in order to do that. I don't think that's quite legal, but I felt a little better. But then I thought, no, that's still verbal. I'd like a contract that's in writing. So I went to a business supply store, and I bought a blank form for setting up a limited partnership. And I filled it out, and I gave God a 51% controlling interest in my life. And he became the general partner, and I the limited partner. And I felt much better, because it's a written contract now. But there was one more step, because it occurred to me, all that shows is that a partnership exists. It doesn't show the terms of the partnership. So as to who's responsible for what. So I got a piece of paper, drew a line down the middle. I put down what's God's responsibility and what's my responsibility. And essentially what it came down to was, he's responsible for worry, and I'm responsible for work. And he doesn't like for me to even help him with the worry. And he doesn't do a damn bit of the work. And that's the way we do it. I tell him, I'll pedal and you steer. And for God's sake, watch where you're going. I don't like some of the places we've been. And that's my working contract with God, and it's been working out pretty well. I was thinking of a graph. If my life was on a graph, what would it look like? And I came to the conclusion it would be like a giant V. It started way, way over there, and it's going to end way, way, way over there. And from where it started until July 31st, 1967, it was on a downhill course. Now, it wasn't a straight line down. It was up and down. Just enough ups to keep me confused. But it ended up in the nut ward of the hospital I was on the staff of. And that wasn't bad enough. I had to go to AA. And after 7 months, and then one meeting too many of AA, I accepted the fact that I, strange as it might seem, even though I had no choice in the matter, had nothing to do with it, but for some odd reason, I really was a mild alcoholic. Yeah. And from that moment on, my life has been getting better and better and better. Now, it's better than it's ever been. By far, it's better than it's ever been. It's not a straight line up. It's been up and down, But even when it goes down, there are things I can do to get it to go back up. I go to more meetings, I start a meeting, call some newcomers, get on the phone, call my sponsor, read the book, all kinds of things. Or just sit still and hurt and wait. It's the one Bible quote that I use. The Bible says, and it came to pass. The Bible doesn't say, and it came to stay. And I'm thoroughly convinced that when people like us hurt, we either drink or grow. And if we drink, we end up worse off than when we went into it. If we don't drink, we end up spiritually better off than we were before the problem came around. And so pain is a great stimulus to growth. And the only thing, as far as I can see, the only thing that determines how high the curve is, the graph is going to go on this side, is how long I can stay around doing the things I'm doing. And so I just want everything I can get out of this program. It seems to me so, there's not only more to this program than I can get out of it in one lifetime. I think there's more to this program than anybody could get out of it in one lifetime. But I want all I can get. There's so much more to sobriety than just not drinking. But the thing that fascinates me is, what was the point of that the V, that one act of acceptance? What did I accept? I guess as I see it, I accepted the challenge of living life successfully in spite of the fact that I can't drink. A little more complicated than that. I not only can't drink, I can't not drink. I can't keep me sober. All my efforts to keep me sober fail. But my efforts to help you stay sober keep me sober whether you stay sober or not. It's just more fun if you stay sober too. But it's a tangential thing. My efforts to keep me sober got me drunk because it focused on the problem. But the answer, instead of living in the problem, to live in the answer is to be giving it away, giving it away. If you have any trouble making this program, you've been trying for some period of time, try giving it away. If you're sober right this minute, you're better off than somebody still drinking. You have something to give. And the more we give it away, the more we have it. That's really been the clue for me, is to give it away. That business of acceptance has made such a tremendous change in my life, and as smart as I am, and as good looking, what took me so long to accept that one simple reality? The only answer I can come up with is, I didn't approve of me being an alcoholic. And I was confusing acceptance with approval. I thought acceptance implied approval. Not so. I mean, acceptance has nothing to do with approval. In fact, approval is an impediment to acceptance. And I find myself doing that all the time. Something happens, I don't like that. Nature doesn't care whether I like it or not. To me, acceptance came after approval. I reversed it. Approval came after acceptance. I finally have accepted my alcoholism, and things have gotten so much better. Today, I thoroughly approve of me being an alcoholic. I like being an alcoholic. I like this way of life. I like what I've got today. This is the best life I've ever known. And I just like being an alcoholic. If that bothers you to hear me say that, that's too damn bad. I'm really glad to be here, and thank you all very much. I love you all.
We hope you've enjoyed this recording. To obtain additional copies, receive a free catalog of AA and Al-Anon talks, or to find out about our tape and CD of the Month Club, call Encore Audio Archives at 1-800-878-1308, or visit our website at www.12steptapes.com.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.